All right. Here we are. Tour Monday. Rocking and rolling live for 7 whole seconds. I've got some guests tonight. Donna and Kaylin are going to join us. And Kaylin's already out there. I'm waiting for Donna to come in. And we're just going to have a good time talking with the ladies tonight. I know that Donna's got some commerce stuff she wants to talk about that's going on up in Wallace. And it's pretty cool. I've seen it. And Kayla, man, she's awesome. Just one of the best features of the tour of Idaho. It's been great dealing with her. And as far as I'm concerned, 4 or 5 years ago, when I found out about her, that's when the tour really upped its level. That's when it went to the next level and we started sending people to Smoky Bar Store. It's awesome. Hey, Nick. As always, please give StreamYard your credentials when you come into the room. And let me know who you are. You know, if your name's not showing up, just make sure you let me know who you are when you ask a question, and we'll get through it. I see Sean Casey. How you doing, Sean? I see Tyler. Hello. Nick, anonymous Facebook user, and the room is starting to populate. Wow, we got a lot of people. Look at that. Luke, how you doing? Jake, hello. John, hello. So this is the last one of these I'm going to do for a while. Richard, I have a lot I've got going on. I'm booked musical shows all over the state, and I'm pretty happy about that. I got a whole series of shows I've been rehearsing for, my little one-man jazz guitar deal, and I'm pretty excited about it. And so I'll be playing out a lot the next couple of months. So this is the last Tour Monday until right before the season starts. About a week or so before the season fires up, sometime in early July, I should be back for my little mini tour of the state, and I will I'll do a few more of these, and we'll try to keep them going through tour season just so that I can give you updates, and also so that we can talk to people as they come through and talk to people as they finish. I think the interviews from Sundance are like one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. You know, talking to the people that are up there and looking at the smiles on their faces. So we'll definitely do that this summer. I see Scott Murray. Hello, Scott. I see Connor Ward. So it looks like most of the gang is here. Brian Ghost, how you doing, buddy? Or Goss, excuse me. So I am going to, without further ado, Spencer, bring in my buddy Kaylin. How you doing, Kaylin?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks, Martin.
You're looking great, by the way, sitting there in that nice-looking Idaho hat in your car on top of the hill. How's things going? Tell everybody about the condition of the road going in the Smoky Bar Store right now.
It's still closed. This has been the longest winter ever. I had foot surgery in December, and I'm walking again, so that's pretty cool. But it's just been a long one. And we had some avalanches come across the road in 3 different places, and it's still closed. So typically I open up May 1st every year, and I sit, not at the store yet, but they're saying by the end of this week we should be able to get in there.
So has anybody been, so there's going to be a lot of snow up top, but I wonder how much snow there is, how far down you have to go off the other side going towards your store north before you kind of get out of the snow. Do you have any sense of that?
I actually just looked up the snow tell Saturday night, and they're saying on top of Dollarhide there was still 49 inches of snow.
Wow.
And it's been warm though, so it's going fast, which is also a problem because then the runoff takes the road. And I did go into the store a couple weeks ago on tracks and just checked on stuff, and it was significant snow still.
Wow.
So, and then I went in last weekend around through Featherville, and which is much lower elevation, and it was looking pretty good, except one spot, a low spot in the road where the South Fork of the Boise's coming across the road, and it's pretty bad.
And for those of you who aren't familiar, the Forest Service is not the best friend of those folks up there. When a road goes out, it tends not to get fixed very quickly, does it?
No, not 6 years.
Yeah. What was your last wait? Like 2 or 3 years or something to get a road fixed?
Yeah. Yep. The year I opened, the road to Featherville washed out, which was our secondary route out of there in case of emergency or, traffic. And it took them 6 years figuring out who was going to pay for it, and finally did get it fixed. And that's the road I'm speaking of that has water over it right now. It's the next lowest spot. The road is 100 years old. And they just keep fixing and rebuilding, but yeah, nothing happens fast, unfortunately.
That's why I'm always eager to hand the federal government more responsibility than they already have, because they do such a crackerjack job of what they're already supposed to be doing.
Right.
So, I'm delighted that Kaylin could join us tonight. Last week, a lot of you talked about, a lot of people spoke last week when we were talking about tour psychology, because Sean brought it up. I asked the question, well, we're talking about negative aspects of the tour, things that you found fearful or stressful. Tell me about something that you found was great. And everybody said going to see Kaylin in a Smoky Bar store. There she is right here for those of you who don't know. Now, I'm going to give her a little introduction, then I'm just going to let her run with it because she's glib and she can talk. Tony Jenkins is the person that said, you have got to meet Kaylin Dennis. When those guys did it a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago. And Tony Jenkins is a guy that I trust completely. He is, when he says something, if that guy tells you the sun's not going to shine tomorrow, you best go fetch you a blanket. That's my view of him. And so he said she's got this store, and I'd been in that area a lot, but you weren't open. In your early years, you weren't open a lot. And every time I went by, it was closed, and I'd look in. I could see there were T-shirts and stuff in there, but it looked like you had kind of limited hours. So I'd probably ridden. In fact, that night, I told you that I dumped my bike in Big Smoky Creek in October, and I was freezing. I almost broke in that night. I was so cold when I got there. But we missed each other for many years, and then finally I said, okay, Tony says I got to check this out. So I went up there and I talked to you and looked around and said, we got to put this on because this is exactly the kind of thing I want the Tour of Idaho to be about. Going to this groovy little off-the-grid place in the middle of nowhere. The people are cool as hell. There's somebody on the back porch picking a banjo and a mandolin, and everybody's drinking beers and playing horseshoes and stuff like that. It's quintessential Idaho. Take it away.
Well, that's just, and it goes both ways. Like what the Tour of Idaho has done for Smoky Bar is, kind of incredible too. Like the friends that I have made just from the tour, and my friends that come back and ride every year and bring all their friends and tell all their buddies about it. It has, the moto community especially has exploded up there. And people they know now. I have regular hours now because those years that you stopped by there, I had a regular clock in, clock out job. I was teaching school. Mm-hmm. And so I was open on the weekends. And then I was open, as much as I possibly could. But, I'm a one-woman show up there until I got Margaret and my helpers and my awesome, awesome friends that come on the weekends. Without fail, and they keep coming back to help me every weekend, and whatever project needs done or whatever, they're the coolest people you'll ever meet right at my place. And it's like the most fulfilling thing on earth to be surrounded by the world's best people. I'm living awesome. It. Yeah, it's incredible. So, and it's just kind of neat, the friendships that happen, and we end up helping a lot of people off the mountain, like swamp their bike or got a flat tire or whatever. We can help, and we have Life Flight Land right there. Once or twice a year, the ambulance knows the route to our place, and so people know now that they can come use the sheriff's radio and get help. I'm not an EMT, but I'll hold your hand till somebody gets there. But it's just been really cool, like the relationships, and that's truly what it's all about. And
I have never ever spoken with a single person associated with this community that has had anything to say about Smoky Bar Store other than that was the most awesome place on the entire tour. People love going there. They love the whole experience. They think that, and it's primitive. I mean, it truly is an off-the-grid place. It's not a luxury hotel. It's some bunks in a bunkhouse and some stuff like that.
I like to call it rustic.
Rustic is a good word for it. But those guys get there, and they immerse themselves in that, and it's like they go with the flow. And then you guys get them breakfast, like you get them out there real early the next morning. I've heard a couple of times like you were beating on their window saying, you guys got to get going. You're not going to get where you're going to go. Get up.
If I had to get up to make you coffee, you're going to get up and drink it, okay?
Don't mess with Kaylin either, man. I don't think she misses when she shoots.
Well, and I got foot surgery, but I had to get it because it was my ass kicking foot. So I had to get it fixed.
Look at this. This is awesome. Check this out.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Tessa chewed him up one side and down the other. It's not a pony.
Those Montana guys, I tell you what, they're almost like Californians anymore, you know.
Careful there.
So, tell us a little bit about your place. Tell us the history, because you have quite a bit of history with Smoky Bar Store. Tell everybody the whole history, the lay of the land there, and kind of what they can expect when they roll in, provided they don't smell like skunk spray or bear spray. Excuse me.
Or both, yeah. I mean, either.
Or both, yeah.
So historically, the big piece of land that Smoky Bar sits on, it was originally called the Golden Eagle Mining District, and it went clear from the South Fork of the Boise down the valley, and then south another like 4 miles. It was gigantic. And the oldest part of Smoky Bar, the oldest part of my building, used to sit down at the confluence of the Paradise and Big Smoky, which is probably like 500 yards from where it sits now. And there was 2 miners that were partners on that piece of land, and they got in a fight about it. And rather than shooting each other or, whatever, they went to court, and the judge says, you get this half, you get this half. And so he moved his cabin up there, and there she sits 120 years later. So it's kind of it was a mining camp, and then it was a sheep herders camp. There's some old corrals there. And then it was bar, store, pool table. You can come get some whiskey or whatever there all through when you weren't supposed to have whiskey. And then my family bought it in early 80s, and most of my family are educators, and so the summertime gig worked really good for them to have a little store, and they did awesome at it. But then they just decided, well, I think we just want to have a family cabin, a hunting cabin that we can all enjoy. And so they shut the store down in 81, 82, and it was just our cabin. And so then in 2013, a lot of the family, they were like, I think we should sell it. We don't really use it anymore. And all of us kids in the family were like, oh, no, you can't sell it. And at the time, I had my own herd of cattle. I was ranching. And so I sold them and everything else I had. And I bought Smoky Bar from my family. And nobody had been loving on it for a while. So I got up there one spring, the first spring, and I looked around, and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And if I open the store in the middle of nowhere, will anybody even show up to this thing? Like, what am I doing? I put every egg I had in that basket, and I was going, uh-oh, here we go, leap of faith. And so I opened, and I had nothing like I have now. I just had I got my beer and wine permit and sodas and marshmallows and bags of ice, and pretty soon people were doing just, hey, what's this place? And so they would come in there and go, no way, I haven't been in here. I've had people come in the store and they just started crying. And I'm like, oh gosh, is everything okay? And they're like, I haven't been in here in 42 years. And my grandpa used to come in here and drink whiskey and make me sit in the car. And then they let us come in and play pool, and they were just crying. And so it's a special place, not just to me, but to a lot of people. And now it's kind of become like people know they can come and re-up on their ice, and oops, we drank too many beers, let's get some more. And it's, there's a lot of camping. My first like probably dozen customers were all bicycles, and they come in and they didn't even speak English. They're Germany and Venezuela, you name it. They're coming in, and I'm going, what are you guys doing here? This is kind of weird. And they're, we're doing the Idaho Hot Springs tour, and it's this bicycle route, mapped just like ours, that will take you to all the hot springs. And I grew up here, and I was like, what's that? I never heard of it. And so it's just the people I meet from everywhere is just like the neatest thing. I'm living the life, So it's just been really, really cool. And here I am. This is my 8th or 9th year open, so 2015 to now, and we're going for it. And I sell I sell a lot of hoodies and shirts and koozies, and who knew? I
My
didn't.
my favorite sweatshirt that I have is that one that says "Let's go, Brandon" that you sold me. Because I wear that out, and people look at it, and they're getting ready to have like this strong reaction, and then they recognize that it's spelled slightly different. And I like that; it trips people up.
Yeah, yeah, that one was funny. I might have gotten in trouble with certain people in my life, but they still
You know
love
what? Get in line.
me. Right?
Just happens.
Exactly.
So,
number.
Kaylin, I work with a little bit during the season. It's not something that I normally do, but because Kaylin is, off the grid and has difficulty sometimes seeing where people are, I usually tell her when you're about 90 minutes out. That's usually a call I make about every day, and she and I are in communication. When I see you get to where I think you're about 90 minutes out, I tell her. So don't mess up. Once you get about 90 minutes away, don't you dump a bike in the creek. Don't dump a bike off the side hill. Don't spray yourself with bear spray or else you're going to be late for dinner, because she's got it going based on what I told her I thought your ETA would be. And that's worked pretty well over the years, right? Usually they're there about the right time.
Yeah, you're pretty right on most of the time. And I have been able to follow some of the PLBs and stuff, but I'm also still running the store, and there's campers and there's bicycles. And so I'm getting dinner ready. And so like when people are booking their cabins with me right now, I'm asking them, are you allergic to anything? And do you have any dietary restrictions? They're like, what? And I'm like, well, I'm asking because I can't just run to Walmart real quick or Costco and get more groceries. So you got to eat what we fix. It's take it or leave it is for dinner. But you got to tell me now if you're allergic to something or don't prefer, elk or beef or chicken or whatever. I get out the good stuff for the Tour of Idaho guys.
I've never heard. I mean,
And
they
out.
go in there and they would probably eat cardboard. They're so hungry by the time they get there. But they go in there and they say it's the most memorable meal they've ever had. It was wonderfully prepared. The ambiance, the atmosphere, everything was spot on. And you're looking at the girl that makes it possible right here, Kaylin Dennis. Again, I cannot thank you enough for what you did for this, because this thing really came into form when we started sending people to you. That's what elevated it to the level that I always wanted it to be. That, with the route changes we've been able to make in the last few years, and I am just telling you, I don't have any trouble walking away from this because it's in good shape. I don't think I could make it any better, and people like you and Donna, who's going to be on in a few minutes, and Cass, you're a huge part of all that. So just because I'm going away doesn't mean everybody else is. It just means that I might not be around to tell you who the kooks are.
I think I can pick them out.
Yeah, I tell people, I don't know if I want to go up there and mess with that woman and her little girl that much. You might want to rethink that policy a little bit, because I have a feeling that she's well armed and doesn't miss. Anybody that runs their own herd of cattle might brand you too, so you might want to think about what you're doing a time or two. All right, Kaylin, is there anything else you want to tell everybody before we get on here?
No, and if anybody has any questions about the cabins or the meals or anything like that, feel free, get a hold of me. However, you got a hold of me to book your room. And I appreciate you guys booking early, because starting now, I'll book around the Tour of Idaho. I'll book those cabins outside the tour. So if you haven't booked yet, do so, because they fill up real quick in the summertime.
And by the way, once again, we get to this every year. When you reserve a room in a place like Smoky Bar Store, it's up to you to get there. That's part of the deal. You cannot, if you quit on the first day or something, it's up to you to make that right to these people that have reserved this room for you. Don't just load your bike back in your car and go back home and don't tell anybody. I've told everybody along the route they should take a non-refundable deposit. If you can't make it by the tour route, what we recommend is just go ride on your own. Ride, stay in all the places. You're going to have a hell of a good time doing a T2 or a T3, whatever it is you want to do. But do not knacker these innkeepers up along the way. They are holding a room for you that they could easily sell to somebody else. Now, what I do is I'll tell people, especially Kaylin, because Kaylin's like right on the cusp. A lot of people make it to her place, but they don't make it that much farther. They fail after Chalice. Donna, on the other hand, hardly anybody makes it to her place, so I got to talk to her a lot. And when they do, sometimes they come rolling in at 4 in the morning, which fortunately doesn't happen to Kaylin very much because we really shorten that day up. But you guys need to be responsible about that. You know, if you quit on day one, call everybody and tell them you're not coming. And, you know, if they don't offer your deposit back, that's kind of on you because these places are in high demand. And, you know, Kaylin doesn't have a whole lot of days a year to make her nut at Smoky Bar Store. What are you up there, 90 days, baby?
Yeah, so usually May 1st till November 1st. But not this year. So I've got to make my money from June till November.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. I've had people say, well, I think I should get my money back because I didn't stay in the room. That's not the way it works, dude. You reserved a room and it's up to you and the innkeeper what they want to do, but that's an opportunity cost. You reserved a room. That's on you. Learn to ride your motorcycle better. Don't, try not to kill yourself on the first day. And then if nothing else, just do a T2 or T3 to get there. If you ever come back, you'll really like the fact that you at least stuck with part of the route, kind of got into the rhythm of the flow a little bit, got to see a lot of Idaho. But the thing that irks me a little bit are the people that quit the first day. So we've had guys that made it to the top of Baldy, turn around, rode back down the big hill that they just spent 2 hours riding up, load their bike in their truck, go back home, don't tell anybody. And that's, you won't be welcome back. I mean, I'm not doing it anymore anyway, but people that have done things like that in the past are not welcome back because you basically you screwed people all along the way by not bothering to tell them, I don't think I'm going to make it to where you are. I understand you not making it, but you should let people know. And, if you reserve tires and stuff at these little stores along the way, go pick them up. Those people can't do anything with those tires. They ordered them especially for you. That's a you responsibility right there. Kaylin, you're welcome to hang out if you want to, but I'm going to bring in Donna here next. You want to stay with us or you got to go?
Sure, I'll stick around.
All right. So I'm going to bring in Donna here right now. Let's get your mic unmuted. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Good to see you. And you too,
Good
Caitlin.
to see you.
Hi, Donna.
I'm coming up in 2 weeks to ride to Hiawatha, and I will. I'm bringing my big trailer, so I don't know if I can park anywhere close to your place.
Absolutely, you can.
I can park my 46-foot trailer on your street somewhere.
Absolutely.
All right.
Right on our corner, 7th Street. We'll take good care of you. We always do.
Well, I'm bringing the kids up, and my little girl just got her first bicycle. It's got 20-inch wheels on it, and since it's all downhill, she's going to try to do it on her training wheels. So we're going to do the Hiawatha.
Exciting.
And then we'll come down and see you, and I want to see the Spooners and the Hicksons and all those cool people while I'm up there, too. So we'll be out in the area for 2 or 3 days.
Fabulous. I wanted to say thank you for everything that you've done, pulling the Tour of Idaho together. It's been so much fun working with you.
Thank you. It's
mostly and all the Tour of Idaho guys as well.
Mostly it's been fun. There's things about it that are not fun, but mostly it's been great fun. And of course, the best part is meeting folks like you. Your predecessor at the Ryan was a friend of mine. I liked him an awful lot. And I've always loved Wallace. Wallace is a special place, and the tour guys all know that. They get there and they go, I got to come back to this place sometime because it's really very cool. And you are the unofficial mayor, president, and prime minister of Wallace, Idaho. You own half of it. You're a one-person downtown rehabilitation district. You probably have block grants for every block in town. So
I wish.
Tell us all about it.
Thank you. We are celebrating 120 years as an operating hotel in beautiful downtown Wallace. How cool is that?
That is very cool.
And our rooms are super comfortable, and they're clean and they're quiet mostly, unless there's a party going on in front of the hotel. We do have a lot of events in our cute little town, but it's so much fun here. And I love how the Tour of Idaho, they're always just so blown away. They're getting off their motorcycles or they're getting on them and they're just looking at the mountains. And I should show a little screenshot out there. And it's just so wonderful to hear that perspective from them.
The guys that get to you are they're a different breed too, because if they make it to your place, they've made it. They're done, right? All they got to do is not fall off their bike or blow up a motor the next day. And I feel like if they did, they'd push it. So when they get to you, they're in kind of a mellow place because they know they've done it. And so you get to see an awful lot of happy people.
And we have the fantastic restaurants. I mean, seriously, 5-star restaurants. The Blackboard Cafe on our corner. It's got amazing Italian food. And City Limits, 1313, the Fainting Goat. And we have a grocery store. We're just really blessed to have so much available in a town of 1,000 people.
What's that Chucklehead place just around the corner with like the little spaceship out front?
Red Light Garage.
Red Light Garage. Last time I was there, I went up to get Jeff and Kent. And that was when I was in the middle of my kidney stone issues. And I was on massive opiates. Mm-hmm. And I drove up there and I was just sick as a dog, just absolutely as sick as a dog. And I get out and I walk into the red light and I use the restroom and I walk out and I'm sitting there. And some guy, it's the weirdest thing I've ever had happen. Some guy was making fun of my socks. I'm sitting there waiting for Jeff and Kent to show up outside of the picnic table. And some doofus walks up and starts making fun of my socks.
What?
Yeah, I was just, and it wasn't even a spectacular set of socks. They were printed socks. You know, they had fish or some bullshit on them like that, but it was just outdoor socks. And this guy won't let up. I'm sitting there, I'm about to barf on the table, and this guy's making fun of my socks, and he just had no idea of his peril when he wouldn't let up. It like went on for 5 minutes. I ain't never seen a set of socks like that. Where you buy those? You from California? So,
Ooh.
Yeah, that was an interesting day. And poor Jeff and Kent, man, they had a rough ride back. That was not fun. So, Donna, you came on tonight for a specific reason. You got a little something going on up there. Tell us what it is.
Well, one thing that I'm working on is I commissioned some art from this wonderful artist. His name is Greg Vicentainer. He's a local guy, strong family history here. And we have this beautiful metal art. So it's great for my tour of Idaho guys. There's 2 pieces that I really want to show you. Do you have them in your studio? Or should I show mine?
I think I can find them quicker than you can probably. Hold on. Keep talking.
I have mine handy, but I think it'd be cool if you showed yours. One is the train depot, which is just half a block away from our hotel. You can see it from here. And it's got little hidden pictures. It's got the main image, and then all around it in the detail are hidden pictures. And he also did the state of Idaho. So I commissioned him to do the Wallace piece that he did. And I think that this is perfect for the tour of Idaho. It's hard to see the detail. There's a fisherman in the little
Hold on here.
river.
I'll fix that.
Ooh, hey, see the critters? And there's lots of guns and animals.
It looks better in person. We're seeing it over a computer connection now, but these pieces are beautiful, and I want to show you how well they're put together too physically. Look at that. I mean, the thing is really nice.
And it's signed on the back and the front.
It is. Let me show you the other one here. This happens to be my favorite. I love this one.
I do too.
That is a great piece right there. And again, they're signed front and back. These things are really well made. This is artisan level stuff, signed front and back. So, Donna, what's a person have to do to get these?
They just need to contact me through our email would be fine, or call, and I will get them mailed out to you. I think they're perfect as a pair, and it would kind of be nice to have it in your garage as you're getting ready for your journey, your adventure. They retail for $165 each, and they are 11 by 14.
Yep, that's about right.
I had that 11 by 14.
Yep. I'm
And 2/16 or an 8 they're at. No, just kidding. It's for you guys that are Always working in those small fractions.
So I'm going to tell you what, you should buy these too. A few years ago, we had Dave Walks in here doing a little bit of business too. And, I hear all the time, what can I do to give back? Well, here's something you can do to give back. Support these people in this really cool town. Don't wait till you get there to buy it either. Buy it now and have it sitting in your garage so you get all fired up. This stuff is really high quality stuff. And thank you, by the way, for hooking me up. I love both the pieces. I've been keeping them down here in the studio knowing we were going to do this, but I got a place for them as soon as we're done tonight on the wall.
And a portion of the proceeds goes to the depot. So, the entire town is on the historic registrar, the entire town, which is very special. And these buildings, they need a lot of love. And in the middle of the night, I'm just being honest, I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got to commission Greg to make a piece for us. And then which building should we do? Should we do the Bordello? That was a good idea. Go that theme. But then I thought, no, we've got to do the depot. That depot was 200 feet away from where it is currently standing. That building needed to be preserved. So it was moved in order to accommodate the freeway.
Wait a minute. I thought that building was fake. I saw the whole thing go down in that movie.
Oh,
The volcano took it out. What are you talking about? That's got to be a replica.
We put it back up. It's a beautiful museum. You're funny. It is a beautiful museum. And if you guys could arrive a little earlier, you'd see that. Plus, we have breweries in town. We've got 2 breweries that, create their own beer and just, again, 5-star food. In the detail of the train depot, which I named it A Piece of Wallace. I love it. I love that name. The other one is called Ideal Idaho.
Don, I'd move to Wallace tomorrow. It's a great place, but the only thing I can't handle, like Wallace in the summer is wonderful, but that time I visited you guys in the winter, when it was pitch dark at 3:30 in the afternoon, I said I'm in the wrong spot.
3:45.
Depends on how close you are to the mountains. So one thing that's very cool that a lot of teams, I'm seeing some people talking about it here right now, is the way you have like this little custom basket made for teams when they roll in. When did you start that, and what gave you the idea to do that?
What gave me the idea? I would say, let's go back to the beginning just for fun. When you came to the hotel and you said, you wanted to talk about what you were creating, I believe. And you said these guys were going to be rolling in at midnight. They would be starving. There's no stores open. There's no restaurants. Will you feed them? Did I hesitate?
Nope.
I said,
awesome.
all right. I didn't do what Kaylin did. And it's like, okay, what are you allergic to? At that, I wanted to, but I wasn't, I didn't at that time. I was like, well, I'm going to give them a nice variety. And I did. I fed them at midnight. And fortunately, you changed the route so that they could actually enjoy our cute little town.
Yeah.
The charm here. That's when I came up with the idea. I put some food in their rooms and their little fridges. And then when I stopped feeding them at midnight, I couldn't stop. I had to put treats in their rooms. And then I might have a sign in their room that makes them feel special. I usually put their team name on it. I don't want to give away too much, but
yeah, you don't have
something that we do. I just want to feel special.
Donna points something out too. The route has been changed in the last few years to make that journey. We used to go all the way from Lowell to Wallace in one day along substantially the same route until you get really close to Wallace. Now, thanks to the Spooners and Andrew Hickson, people like that have given us some cool trails right outside of Wallace. There's a lot more there that we used to do. But we used to take, everything was the same up to State Line Trail, and then we rode State Line Trail out and then did that really crazy trail with the side hill up high, and then dumped you down into Moon Pass into Wallace. And fast guys were getting into Wallace at midnight when we did that, and slow guys like me were getting there at 4 a.m. So that used to be a hell of a long day. It was 250 miles, I think. And I've never seen that awful side hill up on Stevens Peak in the daylight. I don't know it's there. Every time I've ever done it, it's dark, and side hills don't look very bad in the dark at all. So I always hear all these people talking about, dude, that side hill is intense. And it looks okay in the moonlight. Donna, anything else you want to tell us?
I would be thrilled if the guys and gals, oh my gosh, how many women do you have this year
0.
so far?
So the day it's about to close. So if they
Is
don't
it
get
about to-
registered the next couple of days, it's going to be it. And I don't see, haven't heard from any women this year, so I just don't think we're going to see any. I
The
think
women we've had have been so incredible.
yeah. Well, you've only had one that was a Tour of Idaho finisher, right? There's only one female Tour of Idaho finisher.
That's it?
That's it. She's
Okay.
something else. Yeah, Carrie. Yeah, Carrie. That,
I
there's a
remember
lot.
Carrie.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that come through that say they're on the Tour of Idaho that really aren't. And Carrie is the only official female finisher. She's got a single digit
remember
number that
her.
we reserved for her. Yeah, she's strong. She did
My
really
husband
well.
said, "You got to take my picture with her." Like, come on, let's do it.
Do you still
made
own the
his day.
bordello across the street, the old bordello that you fixed up, or did you sell it?
Okay, the Bordello Museum is still there.
Okay.
We had the Lux rooms
Yeah,
that
the
we
Lux.
renovated.
Mm-hmm.
That's no longer ours. Sold it to a nice couple from Seattle area, young people, and they do it as an Airbnb, and they have the bar downstairs. And they're doing a
Sweet.
great job, but they took away all the food. They don't serve food at all, which is fine.
You guys did a wonderful job on that. That was a labor of love. When I walked in there and saw what you had done with
Gorgeous.
that building, I just said, not everybody works this hard to make something cool. Right down to the little appointments in the rooms and stuff. It was so period
Thank you.
authentic. The colors were dialed. Even the carpet and the sheets and everything were so legit. That was one of the coolest things I ever saw. You guys knocked that out of the park.
Thank you. That means a lot. It turned out beautiful.
We have some guys in Pocatello that are doing that right now. We're sort of having a little revival here in Pokey. And this doesn't have anything to do with the Tour of Idaho, so I'll be brief. But it's difficult to find people who believe in doing things the right way. There's all kinds of people that run into some money and then they decide to spend it on something they really don't know anything about. And so they don't have a good business plan. And then, the thing goes until the money runs out and then it's all gone. But like when you did the Lux, that was somebody who knew what they were doing. I was looking at that going, there was some thought that went into this. There was a coherent plan. And these people knew what the heck they were doing. Even the painter. Remember I talked to you about the painter? I said, whoever you hired as a painter, this guy
Yep.
really knew. I painted houses for a living when I was a kid. And that painter was good.
He's
Everything.
the best.
Dead on. We have people in Pocatello like that now. We got a handful of about a dozen guys that I drink coffee with in the morning. They bought up most of downtown. They're doing the same thing. They're going through and they're doing these buildings one at a time the right way. And the Airbnb that we're sending everybody to at the end of their first night, the Purpose Center, did what you did. Guy went in, bought this 5-story building, hand sanded everything himself, spent a year in there and probably $2 million revitalizing these buildings, 5 floors. And it's freaking beautiful. It is a work of art. And the fact that that stuff is going to remain on the tour, the Purpose Center, people will go there their first day. They're going to see Kalen's place out in the middle of the woods off the grid. They're going to see what you guys have done to this town that it's fair to say has been in distress for a couple of generations. And you and your friends up there have basically single-handedly revitalized that place. You've turned it into a happening place these days.
Oh,
And it's
you're too
beautiful.
kind. You're too kind. Thank you.
It's not too kind. It's accurate. You guys have knocked it out of the park with that place. And I'm really glad that the restaurants are starting to come back. Did COVID give you guys a lot of trouble up there? I mean, did that cause some issues?
I would say, we survived it because we're tough, because we can get through winter, Martin. I gotcha.
I can't. Not in Wallace. I'm going to Florida if I move there. I'll be a summer guy.
But basically, we closed down for 6 weeks and we worked on our building. We did a lot of those projects that we kept waiting for the perfect time to do. And we did that. And then we reopened. We had a lot of travelers.
Cool.
And we cleaned like crazy and we survived. We got through it. And things are fantastic right now.
Well, I'll
I
look forward
invite
to
everybody to come back and do the Hiawatha like you're going to be doing. It's so neat. And bring your family is just such a great memory.
You know, if you had told me when I was 20 years old that I would ever think that riding like a basically level to slightly downhill trail for 11 miles, most of which is paved, on a bicycle would be a good time, I would have laughed at you. And then have to wait 90 minutes for the bus ride back up. But it's amazingly cool. Riding across those bridges, there's nobody bombing past you. I mean, everybody seems to kind of like get into the spirit of it, so everybody's laughing and having a good time. And I love taking my kids on that. They were both really little the last time. This time they'll both be on their own bikes. But it's a blast. It's a really cool time. Got to
Fabulous.
watch going through that tunnel, though. You get wet.
You get a little damp, yeah. The views are so amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yep. All right.
And they allow e-bikes now for you motorcyclists that
I rode my e-bike the last time. Guy tried to say something about it, and I said, "See ya," and rode on through.
yeah, they're allowed now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get, not wanting like throttle bikes and stuff like that, throttle e-bikes, but a regular pedal e-bike, it's kind of ridiculous to say you can't ride that, especially if it's class 2, and it's speed limited, so you really can't pedal it any faster than a normal bike. They are a little weird at that place up there, like, the people they have inspecting you. Like one time they busted me, they wanted me to buy one of their lights. And I had a motorcycle light with a big pack in it. And they said, no, you can't use that. You have to use like a bicycle light. And I went to the mouth of the tunnel and turned it on, and you could clearly see all the way down the tunnel with the light. And they said,
A mile.
Okay. Yeah. They said, okay, you can go. So be prepared for a little weirdness, but the experience, other than maybe dealing with the high school interns that they hire at the ski lodge, is really, really good. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm looking forward to it. And I will see you in a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks. Fantastic. I appreciate your time.
Hey.
And hi to everybody out there. Look forward to seeing you. We're always cheering you on. And if anybody wants to order some of the metal art, just 208-753-001 or go to our website and shoot me a message. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Please do that too. I tell everybody every year, you ask me all the time, what can I do to help? This is something you can do to help. I would take it as a personal favor if you would buy this art, just the same as I would take it as a personal favor. I didn't do it this winter because I was busy, but I've always told people, look, buy Kaylin's shirts. Order a shirt through the internet before she closes her store. She'll send it to you. Take care of these people that treated you well along the way. That's the very best thing that you can do to give back. Not only are you helping these two ladies out that took the time to speak with us all tonight, but you're helping out the communities that they represent as well. People, I talked about this a lot in earlier years, kind of my motivation behind starting the tour. I was a college professor, and I made my living off the taxpayers in the state of Idaho. And I tried to educate their kids as best as I could. That was the best thing I could do. But the other thing I could do was recognize that people that live in these cool little out-of-the-way places that we send you to, they got to make a living. You can't eat the scenery, right? So you can live in a really cool place like Smoky Bar Store. You still got to eat, still got to have gas, still got to pay for repairs and stuff. That's where you come in, because if you do things like this that you don't have to do, buy some merch, buy this art that Donna's talked to you about, which is wonderful. You're really helping out, so that's a real good thing to do.
And the
Anything
Ryan
else?
Hotel the Ryan Hotel is on the detail in the little image or the little. Can you find it on the Depot art? So the
I found
green
it once.
side.
There's the bicycle, the Jameson, the Lux. Here it is. Right there. My finger's on it. You can't see it at this resolution, but it says Ryan right there, and it looks just like the sign.
Oh, one more thing. This is really cool. So the shape of, I had him put the state of Idaho shape on there, and I heart where Wallace is. And if you look at, I don't know if I told you that on the phone. And it's big. It's the entire length of the art. Now you have a little challenge.
That's very cool. Streetcar
You
is
see it?
cool too. Yeah, I do. That's awesome.
Sweet. So that's what's fun, and then your kids can look at it. You can. It's easy to just hand it to somebody and say, "Tell me what you see," and they'll find all kinds of images in either one. So
Well, you're going to see these again because the special place I have for these, I'm putting them in our RV. This is going to be RV art. So we have the back of our RV now is a yeah, I told you it folds out into a stage and the PA rolls right out the back, and I'm going to put this right up in the back of the stage.
Oh, you were awesome! Can't wait to see you up
That
here.
way people will
Hey.
see it.
All right.
All
Save
right.
room. Save room for all your guitars in your RV.
That's all it does anymore. There's no motorcycles back there. The chocks are all gone. It folds out into a stage now. It's got lights. Big PA rolls off. In 5 minutes, I'm ready to rock. All right. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, okay?
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Kaylin, anything else?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if you guys ever roll up to Smoky Bar and you can't find me, I'm gonna be at the Ryan hanging with Donna. I want to go there. It's been on my list.
You and I'll go up together. I'll
Pick a
stop by
date.
and pick you up, and we'll go sometime.
Perfect. Let's
Good
go.
day. Well,
All right. Thanks,
I'll show
ladies.
you around.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to talk for just a few more minutes. We got about 10 more minutes. And since I'm not going to do any more of these until right up to the time that we get ready to go, I want to talk to you something tonight. And this is an unpleasant topic, but we need to get it out of the way in the beginning. That way, on down the road, there's no misunderstandings. And Sean touched upon this a little bit last week, and he did it in such a diplomatic way. I was never able to properly thank him for doing it, but I know he's listening tonight, so I know he knows what I'm going to talk about in a minute here, but he approached it very diplomatically, and I'm going to do it in my own manner, which is always less diplomatic. And that's what happens if you get DQ'd. Now, I do not delight in DQing anybody, okay? And in fact, despite what you may have heard, I bend over backwards to try to figure out a way to get you through this thing. So if you make a writing mistake or something goes wrong or you run afoul of the rules, what I always try to do is say, look, you screwed this up, but there is a way out. This is what you need to do to make that up. And 80% of the time, those conversations, probably even 90% of the time, those conversations go pretty well. I mean, I know you're hammered. I know you're tired. I know you're under a lot of stress. So I try to be as diplomatic about it as I can. Although, text messaging through PLBs has some limitations. So the message you get from me goes, you missed this trail. Looks to me like it was a nav error. Here is what you need to do to make it up. Most people are okay about that. Some people are not. And every once in a while, somebody gets bent out of shape. And then at that point, when the cussing and the threats and all that stuff stop, I got to say bye-bye. And that's it. I don't change my mind after that happens. That is virtually the only reason that anybody ever gets DQ'd. We're trying to get you through this thing. And normally I'm talking to the guys in the steering group too, saying, what do you think we should do about this? Rarely do I make these decisions in a vacuum. I don't like to drag those other guys into it because I don't want anybody mad at anybody but me if something goes wrong. So the ultimate decision is mine. But I'm talking to other people saying, what do you think is fair to do here? And every year there's somebody that comes up with something that we haven't thought about because this is a complex endeavor and we can't anticipate every single contingency. And all I can do is assure you that when that happens, we're not sitting there going, that guy, girl, that rider is an ass and we should get rid of him. That conversation has never, ever occurred. It is always, it might be, they're a little hard-headed. They're a little resistant to information, but let's see what we can do to fix this. So I want to go through the brief history a little bit because there are some people that are pretty prominent in the web that just, they gripe and moan and complain about how they got treated poorly and stuff like that. And one of the most prominent guys is this guy from Colorado about 5 or 6 years ago. Shows up here, and he's a really good rider. The guy's a very strong rider, and he had a guy with him that was a very weak rider. And they showed up at my house, and the guy that was not a strong rider was done. And he was... there was some interpersonal things going on there that made me feel pretty uncomfortable. The guy was a strong rider, was really disparaging his partner publicly in a way that all I can say is made me feel very uncomfortable. If I'd have been that guy, I'd have been pretty upset. There's nothing worse than slagging your partner down because they can't keep up. So I suggested to him, look, why don't you, you guys came up in the same truck. Take your partner back. You said you're retired. You got the summer off. Come back in a couple of weeks and I'll run a shuttle for you. He didn't want to do that. He just wanted to go on the next day. And it was one of those kind of things where, then his partner's stuck. His partner's got to figure out a way to get back to Colorado by himself. And this guy takes off and he hadn't thought about it. His partner was the one who'd done all the nav. He was just going to supply, he was going to be the expert rider, I guess, of the team. And he was that. He was strong. But he didn't know anything about navigation, was trying to do it with his phone, kept getting lost, skipped an entire section of trail on what was then day 4. Skipped probably 50 miles of single track due to a riding error. And finally, I had to say, dude, if you don't go back and ride that, you're not going to accumulate enough points to finish. And his argument was, well, the sign said trail closed, and the sign said no such thing. I'd been there a couple weeks before. He had looked at the wrong sign. He was looking at a sign for a foot trail, which was closed to motor vehicle traffic. Now, the Ketchum guys all know this story. They know exactly the trail I'm talking about. They know where it was at. But the point is, I told that guy, it is possible for you to make this up, but you're going to have to do some work. We can't let you skip half a day's worth of single track trails, 6 or 8 trails, and just pretend like it didn't happen. You have to make that stuff up somehow. He didn't want to hear that. He quit, and then, he's pissed off, and he gripes all over the internet about how he got DQ'd. I didn't DQ that guy. He DQ'd himself. I said, this is what you need to do to fix this. Now, same thing happened last year. We had a team that came through, and it's very unfortunate. There's nothing good about this story whatsoever. But that team should not have ever been here, and that's my fault for not doing a better job of anticipating what was happening there. One guy was in Europe trying to ride an event just a few days before he came out here, so I don't think he quite understood what they just didn't understand what they were getting into. They didn't really do very much planning. I had sponsorships lined up for them, and they never even followed through. I had people that wanted to give them stuff, and those people said, "Yep, these guys never called us." So they show up here, and we're trying to get them through because I think there were a lot of people that were really pulling for these guys. But the same thing, day one's a catastrophe because they don't really, for various reasons that are absolutely no fault of their own, they don't have really the skill set that you need to do this. Not that they're not great riders. You're really good riders. But the Tour of Idaho is something very special. One of them retires wisely at the end of the first day, and I'm trying to get him to the airport and get him on an airplane, get him back to where he came from. His partner is out on the second day. And I told him to cool his heels, and I would send him the directions where to go. He chose to ignore that, rides off into the woods, kind of gets lost, and ends up skipping most of the second or third day, whatever it was last year. But anyway, he rode past an entire day. What am I supposed to do? That's not my fault. Sit there, cool your heels until I get your partner into the airport, get him on a plane, then I'll tell you what to do next. I am one guy. I'm not an entire army of darkness. If I tell you to sit, and I'll get back to you just as quickly as I can, especially if I'm in the process of driving your partner to the airport. And what happens in situations like that, which is frankly one of the things that's worn me out, is then the threats. There were threats of violence last year. I'm going to come kick your ass. I have tools taken every single year. Last year, I lost $100 worth of tools where I loaned people tools, they took off, and I never saw them again. No one should have to put up with stuff like that over a goddamn motorcycle ride. It's a disgrace, and that's one of the reasons why I am not going to regret, I'm not going to miss this too much next year. So what I want this year is I want this thing to go smooth. You need to understand that I'm not the one riding your motorcycle. I put the route together. Many, many others have gone along the same route, and they have gotten through this thing just fine. If you don't get through this thing just fine, you don't need to be looking at your stars. You need to be looking at yourself, okay? Little Julius Caesar there. This thing is set up so that we bust our asses. Everybody working behind the scenes wants you to succeed because we all know how cool it is and we know how good we felt when we got through it. That's what we want for you. But if you're too arrogant to listen to good advice, or for some other reason resistant to good advice, I've talked to these guys that just were so convinced that they were better than everybody else that ever rode a motorcycle. I am so good at this, there's no way I can have any trouble. They show up here, they have trouble, and then they're pissed off. It has to be that, oh no, it can't possibly be me because I'm great, so it's got to be you. I don't want to hear that this year. I just don't have any patience for that. Nobody in this whole thing is doing anything other than pulling for you. And Sean brought that up last week. You know, when you're out there and I'm telling you, look, dude, you got to do this if you want to get enough points to get through. A lot of people just misinterpret that, but all I'm trying to do, I had a group a couple of years ago that, there was a bunch of blowdown and stuff, and they were having a really hard time getting around some stuff. There were fire outings and stuff. And I'm on the fly trying to help those guys out. You know, I'm sitting here in the middle of the day when I could be doing other things, instead trying to figure out a way to get you through this stuff. And it's tough sometimes through PLBs. The communication's a little bit spotty, and it's not really my responsibility anyway. There's bonus routes and stuff out there. If a trail's closed, figure out your own way around it. But I'm still trying to help you out. So I get these guys around something, and they made a navigation error, and they didn't find the trail that I told them to find. And I just said, well, that's okay. But you'll have to make it up somewhere else. And they're like, well, wait, your directions were terrible. That's the reason that we didn't find it. It's not a me problem, partner. That's a you problem. The maps are out there. You're supposed to carry supplemental maps. That should be something that you should be able to figure out on your own. If you can't, that's okay. I understand it. It's stressful, but it's not my problem. That is a you problem. And you need to blame the person in the mirror when things don't go right over things like that. Now, if I tell you it's possible to ride your bike off a cliff and survive, and you're dumb enough to do it, then I guess I do share some responsibility for that. But I've never done that. I tell people this is hard. I tell people you're not likely to make it. And I typically take a pretty pessimistic view of most people. I don't ever blow smoke up people's asses. If I think you can make it, it's because I really do think you're going to make it, and it's going to be bad luck that's going to knock you to earth. But for most people, I say, well, I think you're going to have some trouble here and here, but, if you're patient, you slow down, and you deliberate your way through it well, it's going to be okay. So here's my plea. This year, why don't we have a really smooth last season? I would appreciate if I loaned you tools if I get them back. I would appreciate you not threatening to kick my ass in front of my kids. I would appreciate not looking on the internet and seeing this spew of vomit because you're upset about the Tour of Idaho. I just want to get through this thing, turn it over as a legacy route. I really hope we can have as much fun as possible this year, and I hope I'm not about to blow a fuse about the middle of August like I was last year. Last year was a pretty stressful year for several reasons. It wasn't the worst, but it was one of the worst just because we had one team that was just really out of control. I'm still blocking those guys on social media. It's incredible. So let's see what we got here. Let me pull this up. Yeah. Sean, exactly right. There are all kinds of people that get out here and they recognize that something went wrong. To err that's going to happen. Things are going to go wrong. You just go on and ride it at your own pace. Have a good time. Go meet all the people along the way. The Tour of Idaho is not going anywhere. The trail is still physically going to be there. This may be your last year to get, the fancy jersey number and stuff like that, but you can always do it. When I was climbing big walls, John and I talked about this last week. You didn't get a jersey number. You got the satisfaction of knowing that you did it. And that's what the Tour of Idaho is going to be after this year. If you stick to the rules, which will still be in place, there won't be anybody watching. But if you do it by our standards, you still get to claim that you did it. That should be enough for most people. So anyway, that unpleasantness out of the way. It's 8 o'clock, and I want to just get on. So I will see you all again probably around the 1st of July. And I'll look up, I'll try to go maybe a week before the first team takes off so that I can give you trail updates and stuff I know about. By then, I should have enough information about, trails that are closed, if fires are popping up, things like that, snow thing. Benjamin, if you have a question, sure, go ahead. I'll take questions for a few minutes if anybody has any. Assuming that I know the answer. Hey, Ralph, how's it going, buddy? Ralph, I want to drive up and see you maybe sometime this fall. I think that'd be fun. What are your thoughts about us staying in Koosky? Benjamin, I think that's not a bad idea at all. We still don't know what the fuel situation is in Elk City, and I'm trying to figure that out. If it were me, I might just plan on going to Koosky. If that is, let me give some thought to that too. If it gets to the point where it looks like that's going to be a problem, there's not going to be gas in Elk City. I can't imagine that's going to be the case. But if that looks to be the case, what I'm going to do is I'll give everybody a routing into Elk City. So we'll go to Elk City, and then I'll get you to Koosky. We'll just take there is a shorter way to go to Koosky than the road that everybody drives their automobiles around. We'll take you to Koosky. You won't have to go down Falls Point and do all that stuff. We'll get you to Koosky as quickly as possible. Then the next day you can take up and head over into Montana. So let me keep an eye on that. And if any of you get any information about what's going on in Elk City before I do, please let me know. But I think, Benjamin, that's an excellent question, and it might just be that this year we just say, look, you're going to go from North Fork to Koosky. And if that ends up being the case, I'll get you a good route again. There is a really good way to get to Koosky that's actually a lot of fun. I'd have to go look at the maps a little bit and come up with it, but I think I can do that in a few hours. All right, so let's see. I'm not naming teams this year, Richard. You get to name your own team. So you go in there and you modify whatever your entry was, and as long as I got your letters of recommendation and all that stuff, and we're all good, I'll put whatever team name you come up with in the calendar. By the way, I think the closing date is June 1st, and so that's in another few days. As soon as June 1st rolls by, I'll come up with the calendar. Let's see. Who are the idiots starting in July this year? I don't know, but I think I'm going to be talking to him in a couple weeks. Jim, man, I'm telling you what, I know your schedule, as an athletic trainer, you got to be back. If you can fake an illness, I really suggest that you try to do it in August sometime, just before the games start being played, because there's a ton of snow. There's snow up above my house right now here. Still, if I walk outside and do a 360-degree panoramic, you're going to see a snow everywhere, and I think it's going to snow tonight. So I don't know what to tell you. If anybody could get through, it's you. But do all the bonuses you can this year, because I think that you got a rough road to hoe. Okay, anybody else with questions before I vamoose here? All right. Well, once again, you've wasted a perfectly good hour and 3 minutes of your life with one knucklehead and two beautiful ladies that had a lot of good things to say to you. Again, the privilege of my life are the people that I have met through this whole thing, and Donna and Kaylin are awesome. They bring so much to this, and I'm kind of a schmuck. I just sit there and send you to cool people like that. I may not be special, but my friends are great. And please consider supporting their endeavors by investing in a little extra merch, and this artwork that Donna has, I'd pay for it. They gave me this stuff so I could publicize it, but I'd buy this piece. It's that good. Really good stuff, and I am going to put it up right on my stage where people can see it. All right. I'll see you all in probably a little bit more in a month. We'll get back on these things again. We'll run them all through tour season. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody come rolling through this year. Cheers. Let's look at this. Sean, man, he's always got my number. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.